Hello and welcome to the Snow Show.
This is the show about snow.
Here we are in Japan at a ski area called Happo, and check out these mountains behind us. Some of them reach over 3,000 metres high.
They call this range the Japan Alps, named after the European Alps because they're so big and spectacular.
In this show we have lots of action and adventure, so let's get started and head to Hokkaido in the North Island of Japan.
Last time, Marcus, Ramona and I visited Rizutsu, the closest thing to a Disneyland on snow. This time we headed to Higashiyama, one of the 4 resorts that make up Niseko, Hokkaido's biggest ski area. There was a lot of snow in Rizutsu, and to our surprise, even more snow on our approach to Niseko. Niseko is less than an hour's drive from Rizutsu and only 2 hours from Sapporo. Niseko is famous for its powder snow. From Russia with love, the cold, dry, Arctic winds blow across the Siberian tundra, pick up moisture along the Sea of Japan, and then dumps that moisture as dry powder snow on the first piece of land it hits, Hokkaido. And the very first mountain range on Hokkaido is Niseko's. For the month of February, it just doesn't seem to stop snowing, up to 50 centimetres most days. So needless to say, for much of the time the weather is closed in. Throughout the day, you may get some periodic sunny spells, but they don't last long. Make sure you have the good gear, dress warmly, and you'll have one of the best powder skiing experiences of your life. Each day before we hit the slopes, we filled up in the grand hall at our hotel. Breakfast is always huge at the Prince Hotels, and there is plenty to choose from. They do serve a Western breakfast, but it's always worth going for the adventure of a Japanese breakfast. And we always use chopsticks.
From our city-style hotel, our daily snow adventure begins. Just a couple of steps from the hotel and you're straight on the gondola for a comfortable ride to the top. The Niseko ski area surrounds one peak, Mount Annapurna, and from the top you can take in the magnificent view for miles around. When the weather breaks, that is, so be ready with your camera. This is Kuchon, one of the major towns near the base of the mountain. This is Mount Yoti, also known as Izo Fuji, because of its resemblance to the Japanese icon. Mount Yoti is Hokkaido's highest inactive volcano, standing at just under 1,900 metres. It's a popular peak to hike in the summer. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to access during the winter. We wanted to get the most vertical possible out of this mountain, so we hiked up to the peak along with everyone else who had the same idea. You know, typical Japanese weather. 1 minute the sun's out, the next it's dumping. Look at this. Powder run coming up.
You have to get up pretty early in the morning to get first tracks, but as it's so deep, it doesn't even matter if you come across someone else's tracks. And when the cloud comes in, it's good to be skiing in the tree line. Although Mount Annapurna is quite low relative to the Alps of Europe and the Rockies of North America, sitting only 1,300 metres high, the vertical is still decent at around 1,000 metres. The Higashiyama area has 8 lifts, although combined with Annapurna, Hirafu and Hanazono, they share over 30 lifts. Now that's got to keep anyone of any standard on any equipment more than very happy. We dropped into the Annapurna side of Niseko Resort, where we discovered some nice, long, groomed runs and an easy gondola ride back to the top. Ski school is very orderly. You are no longer a name, but a number. Don't worry, this isn't for the general public. Every school kid on Hokkaido has to go skiing as part of their physical education. Now check this out. You don't really want to get onto a gondola all covered in snow. It will melt and seep into your clothing. In comes the airbrush at the bottom of the lift. It feels kind of good. After a big day on the slope, it was nice to be able to ski right to the front door of our hotel. And how thoughtful, they've even supplied a brush. The English signs in Japan are more often than not a little bit amusing.
Up next, more of Japan. We seem to go for a bit of a snowmobile at every resort we visit. After all, it is the fastest growing winter activity in the world. Most of the resorts in Japan are summer golfing resorts, so it's a perfect way to get use out of the fairways in winter. Straight from our Prince Hotel, we teed off at the first with one of the many activities SAS, Scott Adventure Sports, organise around Niseko. With our guide, we made our way along the second hole. Then, on the third, decided just to hoon around in the deep stuff. Snowmobiling in powder snow this deep is a whole new experience. At times, it was impossible to see, so it was important to know where the trees were before getting up to speed. Of course, Charlie got stuck and the guide had to help him out. You do have to keep your speed when going uphill, so not to bury the snowmobile, no matter how gradual the hill is. After we had our fill of hooning around on the third, it was more tomfoolery back along the second and first fairways, with the guide showing us the power of his 600cc snowmobile. It was probably smart to only give us 250s.
Oh, wow! Oh, crazy.
That was so much fun.
Playing in deep powder snow is an unreal sensation. Soft and fluffy like you're in a pool of down feathers. The only downfall is it's cold, but wear the right gear and it doesn't matter. It brings the child out in all of us. Marcus and I are rehearsing for the next Sumo Snow World Wrestling Federation tournament.
From ski boots to cowboy boots, we donned the western hats and moseyed on out to the corral for our oriental steeds at the Higashiyama Niseko horse village. It doesn't get much further east than Japan, so I guess that's why the Japanese have a fascination with the west, the far west. This is Ryosuke, and he is our trail guide for today. This is deep powder riding, and it's probably the best place to learn to ride if you've ever had a fear of horses. The deep snow gives you the impression that you're very close to the ground. So deep that my toes were dragging in the snow, and the horses could barely go faster than a walk. And if you do happen to fall off your mount, it'd be a very soft landing.
The Higashiyama Prince Hotel is the only 5-star accommodation in Niseko, and it comes with fine dining and prices that are surprisingly cheaper than you would expect. Japan's economy has stagnated, while most Western countries have prospered, so thankfully, Japan is a lot cheaper than it was in the 80s and 90s. The next morning we went for a road trip around the southeastern part of Hokkaido. The island of Hokkaido is a little bit bigger than Tasmania, and sits about the same distance from the equator. However, the difference is that Hokkaido gets those cold Arctic winds that come across from Russia, so it's covered in snow all the way to the beach.
We stopped in Date at the south side to check out the Remaikan at the Date Museum. This is the workshop of the only professional swordmaker on Hokkaido. Japan is probably most famous for their legendary samurai, depicted as great warriors that were fearless and lived by a strict code of conduct. Their most prized possession was their sword, or in Japanese, their katana. We were fortunate enough to get in the room with Kurihira Watanabe, who's been making swords for over 30 years and is the only professional swordmaker in Hokkaido. He has been passionate about the katana since he was 8 years old, at the time he first picked up this mystical weapon. Each blade can take up to 20 days to refine, but it takes a further year to complete the artwork and sheath. Once complete, the katana can split a bullet if fired into the blade, and a normal steel-cutting blade would barely dent this sword. If you'd like to take one of these genuine articles home, they are worth over $12,000 each.
On our way back to Higashiyama, we checked out Mount Showa Shinzan. Not only is this mountain so hot not much snow sticks to it, but back in 1944 it grew over 350 metres. During its growth, there would be sometimes over 200 large tremors a day.
Charlie's a geologist.
Yes,
Charlie, what type
I
of
am.
rock is this?
This is belenite. It's quite a rare rock from a very rare volcano.
It looks like rock I've seen before.
All rocks look the same, don't they,
Yeah,
Marcus?
they all look the same. Best rock is one covered under snow.
Doesn't scratch your skis.
Doesn't scratch your skis.
Japan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The islands are formed by the Pacific Plate diving under the Eurasian Plate. This process generates a lot of stress, which periodically releases, causing seismic activity and builds lots of mountains. Great for skiing. 80% of Japan's landmass is mountainous, many volcanic, and more than 40 are active. All this geothermal activity creates an abundance of hot flowing water, great for hot springs, or as the Japanese call them, onsen. This is a daily activity for most Japanese, so while in Japan, it became a daily activity for us. The Higashiyama Prince Hotel has a natural indoor-outdoor onsen, and if you choose to use them, there is some basic etiquette that foreigners should follow. They are gender segregated, so be sure to enter the correct door. No clothing is allowed in the pool, even swimming costumes are frowned upon. Rinse yourself before entering the hot pool, and they make it so easy with these sit-down showers, and be sure to rinse down the area after you've used it. Take a small hand towel, known as the modesty towel, with you to the pool.
After you.
No, please.
It's hot.
Enter the pool slowly, so as not to disturb others, and don't put the towel in the water. Most people place it on their head to keep it with them. It's all about being clean, so it's also important not to bring any food or drink into the onsen area.
Meanwhile, I was enjoying a bit of quiet time without the boys. Of course, Charlie had to do his thing and jump in the lake. Invigorating, I'm sure, but I'll pass on that one. I'm just way too comfortable, thanks. Onsens promote relaxation and cleanliness, and in most cases, the Japanese use it for the water's mineral therapeutic properties, instead of a trip to the doctors. The Japanese may use the onsen in the morning before skiing, after skiing, before dinner, after dinner, in the middle of the night. Any time is good for an onsen. We loved our initial experience in the powder capital, but it was time to get moving again. This time, we're not going far, just around the mountain to Grand Hirafu, and spending a few more days in this powder mecca. But that's another story that you have to tune in next time to see. If you liked what you've just seen and would like to ski some deep powder, then here is a great deal we can offer you through SkiMax. Stay at Higashiyama and ski all of Niseko from just $2,531, which includes Australian Airlines return flights from Sydney to Sapporo, transfers to Niseko, 7 nights twin share accommodation at the Higashiyama Prince Hotel, daily breakfast and a 6-day lift-only pass. Conditions apply. Think of the powder. To book, call SkiMax Qantas on 1300 136 997 or visit skimax.com.au.
It's time for another tip to help with your driving in the snow. Last time we did our final checks at the service station before driving up the hill. This time we're going to look at the dreaded chains. In Australia, it's law to carry wheel chains in the alpine regions during the winter season. Even if there is no snow, you must carry them. Now you can buy them if you go regularly, or you can hire them from ski shops, service stations at the base of the mountains, or even special service chain centres. First and foremost, pick a safe spot off the road to put on the chains. This may seem obvious, but make sure you have chains that fit your tyre size and make sure you know how to fit them. There are two main types of chains, diamond pattern like we're putting on here and ladder. We prefer to use the diamond pattern because there's more contact, the chain with the road. Most importantly, you have to know which wheels to fit the chains to. If you've only got a two-wheel drive, you put the chains on the driving wheels. So if you have a front-wheel drive, you put them on the front. If you have a rear-wheel drive, you put them on the back. I still see some of you putting them on the wrong ones. If you don't know, read your manual. Four-wheel drives rarely have to fit chains. Most of the time, you just have to make sure all wheels are engaged. In the X-Trail, have it in auto or in extreme conditions, lock. In really icy conditions, you may be instructed to put chains on four-wheel drives. From our experience, putting them on the front wheels is fine. There are some exotic four-wheel drives that require you to put chains on every wheel. Check your manual to find out. Once you've fitted your chains, drive for a couple of 100 metres and check them again. You shouldn't go over 40 kilometres an hour with chains and remove them as soon as you're back off the snow, because driving on bitumen for too long can damage your chains and the road. They're good and tight. If they're loose, they can smack around and wreck your car. Next time, we'll be looking at driving up the hill. Till then, happy driving.
Hollywood came to Hotham to make a television commercial for North America. So I took a bit of a look around to see if I could learn anything.
Like, why pick in Australia? Well, you got glaciers in America, you know, you could...
No, we needed snow in August. Because, you know, they got to make the, it goes on air in the winter in the States. This is when we shoot. And the only place that we could get snow, as well as the other commercial that we have to shoot, which takes place in an amusement park.
Right.
Amusement park and snow in the same vicinity, Australia.
Now, how do you come up with the concept in the first place, though? You know, Dr. Pev came up to you and said, we want an ad, make it cool.
Pretty much. They come up and they say they want to do an ad about sacrifice, and me and I work with 3 other guys, and we just kick around a bunch of ideas. And this one just kind of came up. I'm a big snowboarder, and I said, you know, it'd be cool to see a guy flipping down a mountain for his kid, and that's kind of how it all started. But it's just 4 of us sitting in a room together, just coming up with ideas, yeah.
Do you think you're getting the good stuff here?
This is great. Yeah, our director, Steve Chase, is fantastic, and we hired him for this reason, to make stunning places look even bigger and more spectacular. And the film's going to look absolutely spectacular.
Is it how you imagine it? Because like they came out here, they looked at a few resorts, and they're looking at this one. Like what you're seeing is just like how you were thinking in your head.
To be honest with you, I didn't see it this grand. I didn't see this resort of this magnitude. So when I came out here and I saw some pictures the other night of where we were actually going, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. This is huge. I mean, I was expecting somewhere like Mount Hood in Oregon or something, and we come out to Australia and we shoot this. It's bigger than I thought, which is rare.
See, I hear that, you know, you're one of the hot commercial directors in America.
I used to be. I'm old now. I'm old.
Oh, you're old.
Yeah, I used to be hot. Now I'm just, you know, there are 4 stages. There are 4 stages to a director's career. It might even be the same for a skier. It's Steve who? The second stage is get me Steve Chase. The third stage is get me a young Steve Chase. The fourth stage is Steve who? So skiers.
So you're back to Steve who now?
I don't know which Steve who I'm on, but
I'm sure you're still Steve Chase.
I hope so. Get me Steve Chase.
So what does the entire production produce? Sit back and enjoy 30 seconds of Hollywood pizzazz and see if you can even recognize Hotham, or at least spot the snow gums.
You sacrifice for your kids.
I think I got it, Dad.
But never when it comes to the taste of Diet Dr. Pepper. It tastes more like regular, so you sacrifice nothing.
Snow Show with Ski Max have a great deal for you to ski New Zealand. Experience Queenstown from $856 per person, which includes return airfares to Christchurch, 7 days economy car hire with Eurocar, 7 nights twin share accommodation at Coronet Alpine Hotel, and a 5-day lift-only pass. Conditions apply. So what are you waiting for? Call Ski Max on 1300 136 997 or visit skimax.com.au.
Well, that's it for the show for this week.
Oh, and we're ending the show how we've been ending most of our ski days here in Japan, with an onsen.
And this is a little natural one that we found after backcountry skiing off the north side of Happo.
Make sure you tune in next week for more adventure and Japanese culture.
Now, if there's been anything in today's show that you've seen and you'd like to know more about, head to our website.
Snowshow.tv. Till next time, keep the spirit.
Bye for now.
Ooh, check this out.
Do we have a millionaire in the making? We're about to find out. Clifford Plumpton from Opera Australia is back in the hot seat. So if anyone can hit the right note, he can. $1 million could be his on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, 8:30 Monday on Channel 9.
It's your afternoon movie next. The Dukes of Hazzard. Hazzard in Hollywood.